As the days pass, the popularity of compact form factor keyboards is rising significantly, with many decent budget options like the RK61 and Dierya DK81 and many others. It's really hard to find out which is the right keyboard for you, especially when you're new to mechanical keyboards. Today, we're looking at yet another 60% mechanical keyboard, the Dierya DK61, which is a pretty nice offering for $50. This video was made possible by Tech Diversity. They sent this keyboard out for review, and it's the reason I'm able to make this video today. Huge thanks to them, and if you guys wish to buy this keyboard or other such mechanical keyboards, then they have a lot of them in stock for you guys to choose from, so do check out their page with the link in the description below. And with that being said, let's get into the review. So first of all, let's give you a summary of the board in case you don't have much time. Priced at $50 or 5,000 BDT, the DK61 Pro is a 60% mechanical gaming keyboard with optical switches and PBT keycaps. The 60% makes for a compact form factor, which frees up a lot of desk real estate, which I think is great for gamers with small desks, but might be a downside for users who frequently make use of the function row numpad and other keys that a larger form factor might otherwise provide. The keyboard is a hot swap board that uses optical switches, so while it's not exactly a mechanical hot swap board, you do get to pick between a respectable range of Gator and optical switches from reds and yellows for linears, browns for tactile, and blues for clicky. It features PBT double shot shine through keycaps that are a bit thicker than what I'm used to seeing in most cheaper keyboards here and there. The keycaps have a rough grainy texture to them, which I quite like, but it depends on personal preference whether this is a pro or con. Now, the keyboard does have 2-mode connection with wired and Bluetooth operation with the capability to switch between 3 devices while in wireless operation. The thing is, the wireless battery life is actually really poor, so for real-world use, the battery life needs to be massively improved for me to actually recommend it. The keyboard comes in a nice looking white box, and the contents are as follows. You'll find a keycap puller and a switch puller, 2 really good ones at that, way better than what you normally find in most keyboards, and you'll find a manual, and finally you'll get the keyboard itself. They provide a nice braided Type-C USB cable with the keyboard, but it is L-shaped, which is a tad bit interesting because the port is on the back of the keyboard, so I don't really see any reason why a L-shaped cable is warranted, but whatever. And that about wraps up the unboxing. Now onto my daily experience side of the review. So far the keyboard has performed quite nicely. The switches are pretty decent for the most part, and since they are optical switches, they're quite responsive and felt great to use in FPS games like Valorant and CS. For typing, the keyboard felt great too. The PBT keycaps offer a nice texture for the fingertips, the legends on them are crisp, and the font isn't a cringe gamery font. The sub-legends also have a reduced opacity. This keeps the aesthetic of the keyboard intact, and it's a nice touch, though it's quite hard to see in the dark. The loop stabilizers also make for a pretty even sounding keyboard. There's minimal rattle, and overall the keyboard sounds decent. Now talking about the software, it was basically the same as any of the Skylung board software, and it gave me all the necessary functionality needed to change out the layers, create custom shortcuts, as well as customize an entire library of RGB effects that can be cycled using a simple shortcut on the keyboard. Moving on, I found that in wired mode, the keyboard worked great and was super fun to use. When it came to wireless though, connecting the keyboard to a phone or a laptop via Bluetooth is really simple, but there are a couple catches. The lack of a power button meant I had to hold FN plus tab for a while before the keyboard turned itself on or off. That, along with the fact that the battery life on this thing is quite underwhelming, was the biggest turnoff for me. Though I don't personally use wireless keyboards all that often, the fact that the battery life lasts for only about 2 hours of continuous use is something that definitely needs fixing, because otherwise the keyboard is really solid. The RGB was bright and vibrant. Overall, not bad. Though the illumination for me wasn't the most even through the legends, it's not something that I really care about because I don't really use RGB anyways. With daily use out of the way, let's talk about my criticism. What do I think needs to be changed on this keyboard for me to recommend it fully? Well, first of all, the battery life is the biggest issue here, and I'd need a much longer battery life, around 7 to 8 hours minimum for me to be content, and if possible, even more. I think 10 hours would be the ideal number. I'd also ditch the L-shaped braided cable in exchange for a normal one, and I'd add a power switch to the back of the keyboard, as I really don't like using a function combo to turn it on. I'd add some height adjustment capability as the typing angle is fixed on the keyboard, and I'd also get rid of the giant Dierya branding on the front of the keyboard, as I feel like it takes away from the nice minimal aesthetic that Dierya have created on this keyboard. Moving on, the software should be made easier to use. If you can't do that, fine, just make a proper software related tutorial and upload it to your website or the product page so that people can see how to work around certain hurdles that they're facing with the software. And I know that sounds like a whole load of criticism, but believe me, if these issues are fixed, then this keyboard is definitely the best buy for someone looking for an optical keyboard to game with and use wirelessly for work or other purposes. With that being said though, let's move on to the conclusion. In my opinion, this is a great buy for $50 or 5000 BDT if what you're looking for is a keyboard without any fancy color schemes, which is fully black with PBT keycaps, loop stabilizers, optical switches, that has hot swap and includes nice looking RGB with tons of effect. And yeah, if that's what you want, then go ahead and get this keyboard. I think it's great. But if wireless office use is what you were looking for, I don't think this keyboard is for you, seeing that it doesn't have a lot of battery life. But for gamers who are mostly going to be using this keyboard wired anyway, I think it's a really nice buy. But yeah, with that being said, that's my review on the DK61, and I'll see all you beautiful people in the next video. Goodbye.